Wreath, I went for a walk and stepped in some dog shit. It is called Son of M. After enjoying comics for a week, I thought, hey, I might as well bring myself back down to earth. Comics are awful. This is one of the most spiteful books Marvel ever did. It thinks dragging its main character through the mud is an acceptable replacement for a story. This truly does break a character. You cannot gain back from this. He commits crimes in this that are unforgivable to almost every reader, and they are so irredeemable that Marvel had to pretend it never happened and not really address any of it again. This series stars The Flash, one of my favourite Marvel characters, and we come into this series with him already at his lowest point. He has been accidentally responsible for mutigenocide. He was the cause of a giant reality warp, and now has lost his powers and is homeless. The first issue had Spider-Man tell him to kill himself, and that issue was more interested in trying to destroy Spider-Man by having him hate his wife and being married to her because she wasn't precious dead Emma Stone. The second issue had the Flash murder someone in cold blood and then commit sacrilege to a race that had adopted him so that he could receive new powers that are never explained adequately. There are two Flashes, two of my favourite Marvel characters, because he now has time travel powers. But time travel powers I cannot really explain, and nor can anyone else. The only person who understands them is the writer of this, and he failed to communicate with anyone else what they are. After this, the Flash's time travel powers are never mentioned again, much like most of the story. But in the case of his powers, it's that nobody understands quite how they work. His time travel is that, well, in this scene here anyway, he can sometimes pull himself forward in time to see and converse with himself in the future. Every atom in his body is vibrating so quickly he has shifted forward in time. That is the only explanation, and despite going to the effort of giving him such horrible powers in such a character-destroying way, they are not even good powers. Not entirely because they aren't clear, but because they have no obvious use outside of this one story where it allows him to receive exposition from his future self. This is painful. This whole series, it is one of the worst things ever. I love The Flash. He is one of my favourite Marvel characters. And this is the all-time worst thing they have ever done with him. Here is his Marvel Legends action figure. This was in a box set, but I got him loose. This is actually my favourite Marvel Legends figure. Very fun to pose. This is his smaller Marvel Universe counterpart from like 15 years ago. It came in a 2-pack with Wonder Man and a packing comic, which was the first comic I ever reviewed on here. This toy sucks. Can barely get him in a good running pose. Here are the two mini-mates I have of him. Blue and green costumes. But it don't stop there, because I also made his oft forgotten about Extra Factor costume. He wore this in 3 issues. Extra Factor 93, Uncanny Excellent Men 306, and then there was a pin-up in an annual by the Churchill dog. And the cover to Uncanny 304. And it is not just a flash head on a cyclist body. No, it is parts from a cyclist and a pillock. This is him, slightly modelled on how he appears in this series, at least in the first issue. And here he is with Mr. Magnet's helmet on, which is actually a direct reference to a cover of this awful miniseries. Here he is in an Excellent Men training uniform. Here he is in the Hard training uniform. I would love an Age of Armageddon Flash mini-myth, or his 90s costume. But one of my most wanted mini-mates, near the top of my wish list, is Iris West from The Inhumans. She's probably 3rd or 4th most wanted. She would be easy to make if it wasn't for her hair having that unique black part. Green costume Flash, I want to point this out. If you put his arms and legs on Invisible Wife's body, I am so close to having a Fantastic Force She-Hulk's. But the one She-Hulk's head doesn't work. It's too different a shade of green. But I really want a She-Hulk's I don't hate. The Inhumans are idiots as well. They learn of the crime committed upon their sacred, holy grounds. And even though the Flash had only earlier that day demanded he be allowed in there, and that he be exposed to the magic Inhuman eugenics gas, they don't respond by viewing him as the most obvious and blatant suspect there. This is more concerned with making his relationship with his ex-wife Iris West as bad as it can be. Some readers despise this relationship. They never moved on from Hugh on Fire and Iris West. And what would you know, those people are editing this comic. The thing is, at this point, the Flash and Iris West were already split up for the 3rd or 4th time. Off panel at that. They were not together, and they hadn't been for ages. They were exes. That's not good enough, though. We've got to torch it like we're torching the Flash. The thing about the Flash is that you might defend this series by saying that he has a history of turning evil. He doesn't. He has a history of one writer trying to make him evil. Steve Englehart loved the idea of the Flash as a villain. He didn't grasp that the greater appeal of a character is as an impatient, conflicted hero who is trying his hardest to fight off his dad's influence and history and prove himself better than Mr. Magnet. After Steve Englehart, writers came along and undid his attempts to make the Flash bitter and resentful. Something else we have to thank the beautiful bald lady for. But then Steve Englehart came back and went overboard with re-establishing his idea of the Flash as evil. In his late 80s stuff, his demolition of the Flash as a character would have been the lowest point for the character had Son of M never came out. He comes as close to irredeemable as he can in those stories, and in this one, he is completely beyond irredeemable. It had always been Steve Englehart before this, though. He was the only one hell-bent on making the Flash a villain. What we have here is someone, an editor, yes, it is him editing to save you looking up the credits, who was and has been consistently only interested in the early 70s Avengers stories from his youth by Steve Englehart. So unsurprisingly, we have a story that is re-establishing, once again, the Flash as a rogue. But it is the 2000s, so even the extremes of his 80s fall from grace are considered humble, and we have to well and truly eviscerate every possible avenue of the Flash as a character. I am not laying blame to Tom Beevort either. Actually, the writer of this deserves the blame entirely. He thinks this is deconstruction and deep. He did these miserable, ever so real rejections of superhero characters. The sequel to this, which does it to Blue Balls from the Unhumans, makes him completely irredeemable, and was also never referred to again, proves to me that he was the proto-Tom Queen before we had Tom Queen. A mockery of a writer who attaches weighty topics like abusive relationships or child abuse to characters because he thinks it automatically makes the stories intellectual and meaningful. You hear the term character assassination a lot, but I think that is too elegant for what this is. Assassination implies some degree of professionalism. An assassin takes down their target. They don't veer from that assignment. You get a lower score in the Hitman games if you murder other people or you get caught. This isn't an assassination. This is, I don't know, an atom bomb approach. Here we see Iris West, ex-wife Iris West. She is making time with another guy. And so the Flash sees this and gets angry and violent and lashes out and starts attacking him. And so now we get to see his ex-wife utterly humiliate and reject him and crush his dick with her heel. Metaphorically. Then we have some more of that. Some more of the "you don't own me" rubbish with embarrassing dead flower imagery. I have tried making Iris West before, and this is okay, but it just doesn't look right without the black bits in her hair. You see, the bad thing is that this story will have Flash abuse his daughter. They were so proud of that child abuse part of the story, they put it on a fucking cover. Here, this last page gives you the real summation of what this horrible story is doing. I would never do anything to harm you. Fuck off. One of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces. This is the highest echelon of shit comics. There is not a single piece of writing anywhere in this 6-issue miniseries that gives off anything besides a hatred and resentment towards the characters. Not even exclusive to The Flash, one of my favourite Marvel characters. The Spider-Man shit in the first issue, the pain and suffering forced upon Kid Flash, the Unhumans, Mr. Magnet in an upcoming issue. Fuck, I don't want to think about it anymore. So I'll give it 7 thumbs up and hope I can be as lucky as Marvel and never have to mention it ever again.